Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dreamleapers with Harriet Cole. I am so happy to be with you today. You know, here at Dreamleapers, we are always looking to talk to people who are making their dreams come true. And usually, as we all know, there are obstacles in the way. There is not a single person who's going to tell you, oh, it was so easy. I just made up my mind I was going to do this, and here I did it. That's not how life works. There are often curveballs that come with life. And my guest today is someone who many of you know. He is my dear friend, Sekou Writes. We have known each other some 20 years, and I know that because he was with me when I was pregnant and my daughter is 19. And so we've been through all kinds of things together. He is a writer, an author, a playwright, a creator, a runner. He's going to tell us all about the things that he is, but he also happens to be a survivor. He survived a stroke that he had 9 months ago. And I wanted to talk to him because, I think it was 2 weeks ago, Jamie Foxx had a stroke, and it sounds like he's still really struggling. If you were to ask people in your immediate universe, I'm sure that there's so many people who have suffered this particular illness, and it can be very hard to come back. But if you are looking to make your dreams come true and keep pushing, you have to push hard. And so Sekou Writes is here, and he's going to talk to us about how he's doing just that. So please join me in welcoming Sekou Writes.
Hey, Harriet. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, the last time you were on this broadcast, Sekou, let me back up and say you used to come with me to the radio station in Brooklyn on a regular when the show was on Sundays, and you would just be my road dog, and you were with me helping to produce the show. So you've been with me since I started, and I'm going to say that was about 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
At least 5 years ago. And you've been on talking about your journey in different ways for a long time. The last time you were on, we were talking about what you did after loss. And you did that with me also in another Dreamleapers event. And so I'd like for you to talk about the healthy things that you had been doing leading up to this traumatic point in your life to just turn your life around, body, mind, spirit.
Wow. Yeah, there were a number of things that I attached myself to in terms of healthy. And first, I stopped drinking. I stopped drinking fully. I haven't had a sip of alcohol in, what's it been now? Years. It's been years. Because you got to count the period that I was out for COVID and that I was out for the stroke. Yeah, I've been not drinking for a long time. So that was a really big change because I was a professional drinker now. I got it in. I got it in, right? And I'm not trying to say.
But I'm going to say, Sekou, I think it's probably about 5 years at least.
Wow.
At least that, because remember, COVID is that glitch time. That's 3 years. Yes. And it was at least 2 years before that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah. And then you changed your diet.
Yeah, changed my diet. I moved more towards vegan and more towards seafood only, just more in that direction. And I think at the time I was doing fully vegan. I was straight up on vegan. And also, what else? Oh, I started running.
Running. That's the big thing is the running.
That's the big thing is the running. I started running, and I was running by myself every day. And I started posting it every day to let people know that I'm doing this, that this was my commitment. And it felt like a partnership at first, because when I first started doing it, everybody grouped around and was like, yay, go, you can do it, you can do it. And then very quickly, those people vanished. And I started saying, hey guys, I still need your help. I still need your help. Gone. And so I really had to work with myself to keep pushing. And even though the people who were cheering for me in the beginning all faded away. And I kept doing it. And in that period, I ran into Black Men Run. And I just decided to show up one day. And I showed up. And I got dusted that first day. I got dusted, dusted. And I promised myself I would never come back. I was never coming back. I made it that one day. I was like, that's it. I'm never coming back. But the team captain, Demetrius Short, shout out to Demetrius, called me. He was like, hey man, you happened to come on the day when our fastest runner showed up. So I didn't know. And so he said they ran away
like,
from
I
me.
got dusted. I don't know if I'm coming back.
Yeah. And so then I found out from one of them about a run streak. A run streak is when you run every day for a specific amount of days. And when I met him now, he was on day 900 and something.
Ooh.
900 something. I was like, wait, so years? It's like, yeah. And now he's on day 1700. Like,
wow.
really, it's just going on forever. And I remember him telling me about it, and I decided I wanted to do that for my birthday. I want to do that for my birthday. Just dedicate those 30 days of running running a mile every day for the 30 days of my birthday. And I did it, and I ended up with 62 miles instead of 30. I ended up with 62 miles. And so something extra was happening there. And then I just kept running. And I kept that run streak going for 409 days.
Well, and I remember, days. So in that time, folks, Sekou, well, what do you think happened? Anybody who is stopped drinking, eating vegan, and running every day, a mile a day, you told me, because you were staying with your mom in Nashville, and you had clothes there from high school, and you got to the point of being able to fit your high school clothes. What?
High school skinny. High school skinny.
Yeah. And that was amazing. And also, you have been doing a lot of work with the unhoused, and you've always had a give back with everything that you've done in terms of giving to charities. You started the Hero Project because people were calling you a hero, and then you made these sweatshirts and started running, and then people donated money, and then you invested the money in sweatshirts. I mean, there are all these amazing things that you have done over these 409 days, and really the running was 409 days, but over this period of time of sort of cleansing your body and spirit. And as you said to me from the beginning, you had an emotional crisis of spirit that kind of prompted everything. And I don't want you to talk about what it was, but more the pivotal point, because so many people right now, Sekou, there was the Surgeon General was on CNN yesterday or day before talking about loneliness being on the rise and how dangerous it is for everyone from little kids to our elders and everybody in between, because when there's a crisis of the heart and a disconnection from humanity, we get sick. And that, you having a crisis of the heart is what started all of this transformation, right?
Yeah. And you said I didn't have to tell it, but I'll tell it. It was a breakup. And breaking up with the women, it forced me into the space where I had to choose. I had to choose who I wanted to be for me. And I decided that I needed to reach for all these lofty goals, not drinking ever again, run a mile every day, like these high goals to really pull myself to a higher level of existence for me. And I tell you, I was able to achieve so much. Like you were just running through the things, like all these things, boom, 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 boom. And I don't even remember all of them because they happen so fast.
Right.
And it's just something that happens, like when you put yourself on a trajectory for greatness, all these other things happen. Like when you focus on that pin, that light pin, and you focus on that, all these other things happen aside from you. Like they happen because of your streak. And so that happened to me, and I'm still amazed at how much I was able to achieve and accomplish.
And I mean, you have, and we all watched. And as you were achieving and accomplishing in true Sekou style, you made sure to include others. And so others, like you with the Black men running, you continue to run with them sometimes. You have this whole hero project where you have raised lots of money for folks in the community. COVID happened, but right before COVID happened, there's a play that you had written a while ago that you were workshopping with students at Fisk University. And in fact, the last performance at Fisk before the whole world shut down was your play.
Right, right.
What's the name of that play?
Brown Boy Mad, right here, Brown
Brown
Boy Mad.
Boy Man. Yeah. And by the way, just even that, which you wrote a long time ago, but it's so relevant now because it's addressing the realities, fears, and challenges that Black men face just because they exist.
Right,
Right?
right. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I don't talk about this a lot, but because of my stroke, I developed amnesia, and my amnesia is quirky. Like first, it was 100% amnesia. I didn't know who anybody was. I didn't know who my mom was. I didn't know who my best friend was who was showing up every day at the hospital. I didn't know who anybody was. But now that it works in in uh, in slight tandem with things. Like you just said that about the play, and just now I started remembering about the play because you said it, but
Right.
not because it was there in my head. And it's like that's what's happening. Like if you introduce me to something I've done, there it is. But until I hear someone say that, it's gone. It's absent. So just when you said that, it came back to me. I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
it
It's
was.
amazing. I interviewed Entezaki Shange, the great writer who created For Color Girls Who Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough, and other works.
Okay.
She had 3 strokes at
Wow.
one point, and she was very lucky to live. And I interviewed her some years after, and she told me that she was completely unable to speak after having this succession of strokes. And I know that happened to you as well. And Maya Angelou gave her these children's books that she had written, and she told her, practice reading these children's books, and you'll learn the alphabet again, you'll learn how to read again, because she couldn't do anything. And I remember sharing that with you, that you part of you knows I'm trying to get these thoughts out. I'm trying to make these things happen, and then it takes longer than you can imagine. Let me remind folks, you are listening to Dreamleapers with Harriet Cole. We are talking to Sekou Writes, my dear friend, my brother, who has done so many creative things over all these years, always with a give back for others. And he's been a guest on this show many times. He even helped me to create this show. I think it's 5 years ago now when we started. And he's always been not just imagining his dreams, but making them happen. And a stroke kind of came in and changed things. So Sekou, I want to set this up. You were teaching a class for young people at Fisk, and I think it was the graduation
Yes.
ceremony for this event. And at the same time, you were working with me on this women's business platform called Kahila, doing video production. And we had a production the next day. I had talked to you the day before because we were talking about work. And you went to this event. While talking to the students, you passed out. Thank God you were there. There were doctors there, there were people there. They resuscitated you and got you to the hospital immediately. And you survived, obviously. The next day, so I'm looking for you. Like, the next day is time, it's in the morning. You're supposed to open a broadcast. You're not there. One thing I know, 20 years of knowing you, you are reliable. You show up. You are not late. Like, where is Sekou? And I thought, oh my God, has something happened to his mother? And if something had happened to your mother, you would have told me. Like, I went through every thought in my head. And then I realized a few things. I didn't know any of your, in case of emergency people. This, and I'm saying this because everybody who's listening, you need to have in case of emergency people. All of your friends and loved ones, make them give you this information. You need more than one in case of emergency. Don't make assumptions. Get the information, make them give it to you. I didn't know anything. A friend of yours found me on Facebook like 10 hours later when I knew something had happened because it just wasn't you. Tell me the moment when you woke up in the hospital and realized something had happened.
Uh, so these stories really are strong. They're strong because I remember bits and pieces, both from before the stroke and after the stroke. So let me just give you a little bit of. So as I was speaking to these students, it's graduation ceremony, rah, shishkin rah, for the student body, and then I stepped aside, and I got this from Professor Fincher's. I hesitate there because I usually call her Professor P. But anyway, she said that she looked up and there was a bottle of water on the seat that I was sitting on, and the bottle of water had spilled. There's water pouring all over me. I don't have no recollection of this at all. There's water pouring all over me, and I'm not reacting to it. Meanwhile, my remembrance is that I was trying to reach for a program. I was trying to see what was coming next on the program, and I was reaching for the program, and I couldn't reach the program. Like, how does that happen? Like, it's right there in front of you, but you can't reach it. And I kept reaching, and I couldn't get it. And I leaned back and try again, and I couldn't get it. And then I said, I'm gonna need some help. I need to get some air or something, was my thought. I'm gonna get some air. And I stood up and started to turn to make my way towards the back and get outside, get some air. And I fell. And I just felt a hand on my back, holding me, supporting me. And I couldn't turn around. I couldn't see the hand behind me. I was like, what is happening? And then lights out.
Wow.
And that's what happened on the outgoing side. And then on the incoming side, me coming back into my world around me, it was interesting because the amnesia had taken effect by then. And people act about amnesia, they're all, kind of upset about amnesia. They just, if they could just remember such and such, or if they could just remember so and so. But when you have amnesia, when you actually have amnesia, you don't know anything about anybody. It's all good. It's all good. It was strange. It was like everything was fine. Like, I just woke up and my right arm couldn't move. So, that's interesting. And everything to do with my right side was a failure. There were people in the room who I didn't know. I'm just looking around, and I could speak, but they couldn't understand me. And I just was okay. I was okay with it. It wasn't until the factors of my life started creeping in. The facts of my life started creeping in. I was like, oh, wait, now. These are things I'm responsible for. Things that I have to be responsible for. Bills I've got to pay. All those things that came into play later. But for the time being, amnesia was a beautiful place. It was.
Maybe that's interesting. I've never heard anybody talk about amnesia. Maybe it happens as a protection, because for you to describe what you just said is the opposite of what I was listening to. The people, because I was in close contact with your people, and at first you say you could talk. at first they said you couldn't talk at all.
Yeah.
And
I just
then
mean,
what you were saying wasn't words, and I know that
yeah,
because you got your phone
yeah,
and you texted me,
yeah,
and it didn't make any sense, and this was, like, a couple days later, and I was
it's
like, "Wait a minute, we need to take his phone away from him." So then I talked to your friends, I was like, "You gotta get his phone."
yeah,
And, hey, everybody who's listening, who wants their phone taken away?
right,
Sekou did not, he was so
right.
mad. But what we knew, you are such a private person about your personal life. We knew you would not want to expose you wouldn't want to be exposed when you were that vulnerable.
Mm,
So we took your phone away until you forced us to give it back to you.
yeah,
But
yeah,
that was weeks. We had it for weeks
yeah,
because you needed to your so that is called aphasia, right?
yes, yes. Aphasia is this broad category of communication issues.
Right. So there was the amnesia and then aphasia. And the first time I ever heard the word aphasia was with what's the actor who Lord have mercy, Demi Moore's ex-husband. The giant I can't even think of his name right now. But anyway, that's terrible because he's a big actor.
Okay.
And he he still has it. It didn't
Mm,
go away. It didn't come his speech didn't come back. And
right.
so anyway, uh I'd never heard of it before, but what I saw with you was that the words and thoughts didn't match.
Yeah,
So you were
yeah,
clear that you wanted to communicate something.
yeah.
Bruce Willis
This was right,
has aphasia now,
right.
and he's had it for months, and so thank God you had it for a short time. But the process of coming back and reclaiming yourself, the bits of you, as you said, reclaiming them, we are now at 9 months later, um, and you're still in the healing process, right?
Yeah, you just gave me a claim for fixing the aphasia parts of me, but I feel that every day I'm fighting with it every day. My effort in picking my words before I speak them is constant. It's constant. And so that is challenging. And yesterday I had this experience where I went to Matthew Walker's a clinic around here. And I went for some dental work, just a small thing. But as I was leaving, I ran into my doctor, and I was like, "Doc," and he's like, "Sekou." Now, let me tell you something. My doctor had a stroke after my stroke. After he treated
Oh,
me, yes, after he treated me, he had a stroke, right? But his stroke was only 30 days. 30 days. He was on his way into work. He's carrying a cane, but just carrying it as an extra hand. I was like, I don't understand how this happened to you, because I was reaching out to him. I was trying to reach out to him to talk about all the things that he needed to know. He needed to know this. He needed to know this. I had a list I was making of things that I wanted to tell him to do, but he didn't need any of it. I asked him how he dealt with the
because he's
pain.
healed. He's healed.
Basically, basically his trajectory was 30 days, and now he's to coming into work as a doctor, right?
Whoa,
You know what I'm
whoa, whoa,
saying?
whoa,
And
whoa, whoa.
it really hurt me, because I was like, here I am 9 months later. 9 months later, I'm still working with language. I'm still
Right.
working with all
But
these
that
things
just
around
goes
me.
to show you everybody is different.
Yeah,
I want to give you some perspective. The comedian Sinbad, who we all know and love, had a stroke, I think, over 2 years ago,
yeah,
and he is still not in the public eye. I, you know, sadly, there are people who have a stroke and don't live. There
mm,
are people who are wheelchair bound, who cannot talk, who can't use, like you've said that your right side was disabled at first and still hurts you, but
yes,
you not only do you walk, you run.
yeah.
So it's all relative, right? And so what did the doctor tell you about all of the things that you had done leading up to the stroke? The running, the not drinking, the healthier eating. What impact did the doctor say that had on your survival?
Two stories from two different doctors, both the one yesterday um, and the one in New York. Both really commended me for running the way I was. And mind you, I didn't have anyone tell me that I should run. I just started running. Like I mentioned, my runner streak of 409 days. And I kept trying to start a new runner streak. I kept trying, failing, trying, failing, trying, failing, until ultimately I got to a place where I could maintain a daily run schedule from the first day of this month, no, first day of this year until now is 121 days that I've been able to
Wow.
keep it going. Yeah. And so because I was doing that, both doctors celebrated me and say, I don't know how you're doing this, but the fact that you are doing it is helping your body heal faster.
Mhm.
Now, it doesn't feel fast. It's been 9 months. It does not feel fast to me,
Right.
especially when you get my doctor walking back into work after 30 days. But they say that I am earning my way back to me. And so that's what I'm hoping for when I go out and run, which is difficult, by the way. It's very difficult running with the condition I have.
And talk about your, well, it's even, let me go to a story that you told me that I just really didn't understand. This is the insiders learning. You had this right side pain, but I remember seeing, because you post all the time, and when you started posting again your journey back, I noticed that your hair had gotten long and crazy. And I was like, I really want to call my friend and say you need a haircut, but I didn't, because I just knew that you were climbing your way out of the pit. And then you told me that when you did get your haircut, what it felt like. Can you describe that first haircut?
Yeah. So what people don't know about this, because there were a lot of people involved in helping Sekou get his haircut. There were a lot of people involved in helping Sekou get his haircut without understanding that this is something you know nothing about. You know nothing about having a stroke. You don't know what that experience is. And so what happened is that in the hospital, I was touching myself. I was just, exploring my new self. And I noticed that once I got to the right hand side of my body, I was feeling things. I was feeling pain up here, and it still hurts. This is the right hand side of my body. The right hand side of my body still hurts.
Today,
This
right now?
right now, today, right now. And I knew that any extra hurting here would come from a razor. And I was like,
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to just defray that as far as possible
Mhm.
and keep away, keep away. And finally, my girlfriend, Fee King, wouldn't let me run in the marathon without me having a fresh haircut. Like, you come on, Sekou, you need to get this haircut. And so we went into a, a barber there in New York, and I had to explain to him, I was like, listen, man, listen, I know I've been coming to you a long time, and I've never said anything like this before. But once you get to the right side, it's going to hurt me. It's going to hurt me. And just keep that in mind. And he would try to rub it gently, and it hurts, and still hurts to this day. To my most recent haircut, it still hurts. I'm getting used to it, but it still hurts.
Which is amazing. And also, folks, if you heard what Sekou said, his girlfriend made him get a haircut before running in the New York Marathon. So let's not pass by this point of, you had a stroke, and once you were able to run again, which took some time, you started back on your daily run, and then set this intention of, you before the stroke, you had planned to run the New York Marathon. And then you decided you were going to run it again. And then you gave yourself this goal of winning a Guinness World Record. And I remember thinking, this, what, is crazy. But then you told me you needed to set the bar so high that that the goal was something worth pushing through the pain to reach.
Absolutely. Because people don't understand how many people come out the woodwork of their past when something like this, if something like this happens to you. People from way back will come out. People from grade school, from high school, from junior college, from all these places from your past will come out. People who I haven't been spoken to in years came out, and there was all this energy about getting me to tell them what had happened. And I did that once, and I was like, okay, this is too much on me. There's too much draining energy on me to explain that. And so what I did is I had to put my goals on something high, something very high, something that when people came up, when Sekou's name came up, the next thing that came up was, he's running a marathon? And have that happen all the way around. And it happened. I remember my mom and I went to her church here in Nashville, and people I didn't know were telling me stories about, hey, boy, I told your mom, no, she should not let you run. And you did it though. And I was like, yeah, and I did it though. And who are you, by the way? Who are you? Because people who were not even really invested in my story became invested. And giving them something higher to focus on shifted the whole paradigm towards me.
Which is important because I can understand people out of true caring about you, people were probing and prying and asking more things than you wanted to talk about. Another really great thing that did happen when you were in the hospital is that a GoFundMe was set up to help you, because what happens when you screeching halt to your life and you're an independent contractor, a creative like you, the money stops and it just stops. And many people will tell you, even people who have a lot of money, when the world stops because of a health concern, you often lose everything. And so the monies have been raised, and I think that there's still monies being raised. But it was interesting because I mentioned before how you've given to charities forever. And one of the things that we shared on this GoFundMe is all that Sekou has raised money for so many people for over the years. And now it's time for us to raise money for him, for you. And when you found out, you didn't like it. You were like, no, we need to raise this money for back to the charities, which I do understand because that's your nature. But it was really interesting. Like, I don't want that.
Yeah, it was interesting how my awareness came to fruition. And so different pieces of my awareness were slower than other pieces, right? And I don't even remember having a conversation about the fact that a fund had been raised for me. And I don't remember saying that fund needs to be given away to charity. I don't remember this at all. But you and V King talked to me about it later, and I was like, I did what now? I did what now? Hold on. Because the bills that came up were staggering. Now, I had no benefits. Now, there's something to be said for that, too. Get your benefits, people.
Yes.
Get your benefits. Have your benefits, right? But I had no benefits. And the bills are stacked up. Like, the ambulance was crazy expensive.
Ambulance. And guess what, Sekou? In New York, there was a report on the news 2 days ago. The price of an ambulance in New York City has gone up 54%. And it's already like $1,500, $2,000, depending upon where you're going.
It was crazy.
It is crazy. It is crazy.
And I was lucky for me that V King created that fund of having some money to go to, because I would have been lost. I still lost because bills are still coming in. Can you believe that? Bills are still coming in. Like I paid you already. Like, we found some other thing. And so it's really challenging to deal with the world the way I'm currently dealing with the world. It's awkward. And having to deal with the bills in such a way has been challenging. And I just I'm hopeful that the fund will still exist. You can find the website on my social media website. If you go to if you go to the link on my social media website, you can find the fund there, and you can still give. You can still give. But what I'm finding is that I have to kind of change the volume. Like, here's the charity, and here's me. Here's the charity, and here's me, and involve both in.
Well, so I'm going to just say it. The reality is you will always give to charity, and there is and now is the time when it's okay for you to accept support.
Yeah.
And you can go to SekouWrites.com and learn about it. And we're happy to do that. I know that as you're listening to him, you also have people in your life. All of us have people who have been affected by illness. And the thing, illness is never convenient. It happens, and then, oh, you get stopped in your tracks. And it's like, oh man, what do I do now? Like you said, Sekou, having insurance, so important. Having your benefits set up. And as an independent contractor, this is something that Obama did that was really good. He required everybody to get insurance, but it was super affordable. And after he left office and that was lifted, I know lots of creatives who stopped getting it. And unfortunately, then you just have nothing. And it's so difficult. So what is your plan? You are healing yourself creatively. What are you doing? Because, you live and breathe creativity. So what's happening in the creative mind of Sekou Writes?
It's funny you say that, because yes, I am a creative, and I considered myself a professional creative for many, many years. But here in this period of my life, I have, I don't want to say no creative projects, but the fact that I don't have creative projects around me speaks to my levels. Because unlike my doctor who could show up for work as a doctor the next day, 30 days later, my mind is still not where it used to be. My mind is still not where it used to be. And that's so strange to say, but my mind is not where it used to be. And so one of the books I have on my hard drive, I want to publish. And I keep looking at it, and there's this one section that I can't quite see. Right? I see most of it, but there's one section I can't see, and that would be my next project. But as soon as I can study that, and I can get that part to show up for me, that'll be my next project. And that, my friends, is a book about how to deal with all this, how to deal with the trial, how to deal with the confrontation, how to deal with all these things that have been challenging to me. I really want to get that book out. And I think it would be beneficial to all of you, because I phrase it that way. I phrase it in terms of helping you. And so look forward to that book.
Well, and you mentioned not being able to read it yet. One of the things that you told me that, again, having an insider's look is something I haven't had before. But, I know people who have had strokes, but, they're not really talking about it. And I don't know them well enough to ask them these kinds of questions. But you told me that up until recently, you would look at your phone and you couldn't read it. Like, there would be letters, but it was like floating letters, and they didn't make sense to you.
Listen, when you were talking earlier about taking my phone away, all these things came up. All these memories came up, because you all did that at a time when it was necessary, when I couldn't even remember. I couldn't even remember it, right? But it was so necessary, because when I got my phone back, I was like, what is this thing? What is this thing? Because there was so much of it that was complicated to me that is not complicated at all to me now, right? But at the time, it became very intensely confusing. Like, I would let it ring. I would just let it ring, and I would stare at it. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And I found those text messages, like the one I sent you. I found text messages.
You found it?
I found it. It just random strings of letters and words.
Right. Every now and then there would be a word, and then when I saw that, I called your boys, and I was like, you got to get that phone away from him. And let me tell you, you were fire breathing mad when they took your phone, which is like every single person would be if they, your phone is your lifeline. But look, the reality of healing is something extraordinary. And I can tell you, so many people have fully healed. I know you said you were hurt when you looked at your doctor and saw how far ahead he was, but also he can be inspiration. Yes. It is possible,
Yes.
I mean, you and I have talked so often about certain people that we know, and, wow, look at how far this person has gone with whatever the limitations are. And we have made the choice to look at that and be inspired and motivated rather than sad or depressed. Like, well, all this effort I'm making, why is that person getting further ahead? Which is the wrong understanding, right?
Right. Yeah, I had to shift myself. And you saw that it's still difficult for me, but I had to shift myself in terms of my dealings with my doctor, because he's gotten so far. There are people who are further back than me. There are people that can't speak, like Bruce Willis. There are people who have all these things that are troubling to them. And when doctors and nurses say, "Hey, you've achieved a lot for the amount of time since you've had a stroke," then I've got to believe that. I've got to accept that as true and valid, and to live on.
And so, as we come to a close of this conversation, tell folks, you have a daily radio show, right? Where tell us quick, because we're at the end.
All right, I got excited. I have a show that's on New Thought Media Network, and it has grown and grown and grown. And so on that show, I'm actually talking about money. Believe it or not, I'm actually talking about money. And so the name of the show is the Be Your Own Hero Show. And so please come check it out. You can find it on YouTube. But, probably the best thing to do is just go to my website, go to SekouWrites.com. We can find out more that there is about me. You find everything.
And one of the things that I think is so great, you do talk about money from a very practical point of view, but now you are so transparent, and being on air every day, you let people in to the journey. Like, today is a really good day. You're speaking well, the synapses are working, but it's not always like that every day. And you are very open and honest about the ups and downs of your healing. And
So right now, I feel like it's so much work for me to do it right now. And so you're saying that it's a great job. I commend you. I commend you for showing me some love. But I feel tired and trying to get it all right and get it all done.
And probably you need a nap when it's all over, right? Well, thank you, my friend. I'm so happy that you're doing better. So glad to share your story. And we just look forward to all the great things continuing to happen for you. You remain my inspiration. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Eric. Good to be here.
All right, you guys. Sekou Writes. He is an inspiration. For those of you who have been with me from the beginning, he's been my ace for a very long time. I'm so proud that he is doing better, and we can support him. Go to SekouWrites.com and watch his show. Support him in whatever way you can. He needs it and he deserves it. Until next time, have a great day and make it count.